The Ring of Dame Thardwine, Book 10. Blood, wine, water, weep, Ioland's daughter. Love is all that remains of what was at the moment of creation, divine spark of power beyond man's reckoning, yet also that which forms his very being. It is all which he enters into the world with, but if lost will be forgotten, and without it he will die, alone. And what men name love is often mere want or need in guise, but in love true is a discovery of his place in creation, knowing that there lies beyond himself that which is not his, but which is inside of him, the mirror of his soul, and he is made to see that he does stand as part of the earth entire, a piece of creation that finds another piece, and can see it clearly for the first time with eyes unclouded, discovering that all along he was part of the joyous wonder, not alone or misplaced in the world, perfect because he can remember love, and love is naught but itself, a discovery, unchanging to those feelings which do flit across men's hearts, for where it breaks, falling into nothingness, they discover but the remains of passion or desire, not love, which is unconquerable. There is no truth but this. Men will scour the earth for truth and search the highest heavens to discover it hiding behind the light of swirling stars, and long may he search before he become wise to the truth, that which they had so long searched for they were born with. And if in long years of his journey he did not lose it, then it remained where it had always lived, in the beating of his heart, and he would, with eyes unclouded, need only to look into the unending marvel of creation to find love waiting for him. Ilulean and Aethelwald crossed the bay with generous wind in their sails, though the eager salt water did seek to slow them in rough seas. And as night fell over the sky, they came to Scarmeline, isle of ancient mystery and power. Steep rise its walls, and in one place only does it slope gently into the sea below. That boats may be moored safely, those monks who lived there and worshipped the good God did maintain a humble dock, for often they went to Aeolish shores to trade and to teach the perfection which belongs to the good God. To this Aethelwald with fumbling fingers tied their craft before assisting Ilulean to the shore, and together they made their way to the peak. From the short shore there lies a narrow stair, a twisting walk on the very face of the cliff, whose steps are covered with mosses and slimes, which hold well all water which comes to them, that only those whose hearts are righteous and turn to goodness can pass over them sure-footed, as others fall into crushing waters below. Aethelwald and Ilulean followed the long path, and the steps were no hindrance to them. At their end lies the full beauty of the sea mount, for from Ioland the great stone shoulders of Scarmeline present a sheer face of stone rising from the water to the snows. But that side which faces the unending ocean is wide and green. Held between the mountain's arms is a sloping field of grass which eases gently from cliffside to the climbing pinnacle of stone, and in it the monks made their home. 10 circular homes of rough-hewn stone lay in the field, small and honest. About them gardens from which they gathered their food, and beehives made by good-natured workers. The monks of the good God wanted not for their nourishment, but were provided for. A church of simple stone, but of cleaner hewn blocks than the homes, stood on the last grass before the mountain climbed swiftly to its peak, and there the monks spent their time in solemn prayer and bend their thoughts toward the works of the good God. Aethelwald and Ilulean walked from the mouth of the winding stair into the calm which housed the monks. And as they came they were spotted, and the many monks rushed forward to greet them, food in their arms. And of all the good men none was more eager for their arrival as Gregory. Happily they were greeted, food given them, clothes brought to them, and houses set aside for them in their stay. When asked why they had come so far for honey, it was Aethelwald who answered, "Good men, the Aeolish have become unaccustomed to receiving such generous hospitality. They have come to learn mean times. However, we have not come to you for your food or your homes, but rather for a purpose most proper, that I, Aethelwald son of Etheldor, the Hawk King and Telach of the Uncoltabar, may join Ilulean Finnewen, daughter of Malach High King and High King herself by right of acclaim and blood, in holy bonds of love. Our peoples did arrange this betrothal, and now is the time when such contracts will be honored. It is by binding ourselves that we will have the strength to face the coming storms which batter the island of the Aeolish. We are resolved to wed. It will be done when the next sun falls, and we desire that you should do it. Though you are strangers to our shores, born in far distant lands, you have come here to give what little peace you have to a desperate people. We have come to you in search of some small part of that peace, shelter from the storm that rages over the isles. For we have traveled so many leagues in search of Ilulean's place and battled against a tempest, who could battle time and again and have no need for rest. She has come to you, newly made High Telach, in need of calm before going forward, for above all it is time that she needs. Time before she takes solemn steps upon the great green isle once more. Time and your wisdom, derived from revelation, will guide her to just stewardship of the land. We have come here not only for the hospitality, but also to make a most sacred oath in the sight of the good God. For it was the monk Gregory who spoke calming words to me when I prepared to bury my guardian, which reminded me that goodness does not die with a single man, but is woven into every part of this world, in each heartbeat and breath, in the wind and rivers. We are resolved to wed, and have no people, as we are the last children of two bloodlines, none to revel in our joy, alone in all the world but for each other. And so we come to you, good men of good faith, asking if men blessed by wisdom would see a truth in our love, and by that ancient law which they hold sacred, bind us together for all time. Thus he spoke, and the monks listened, and as soon as he ended, asking them for their aid, the monks began rejoicing at once. So highly did they hold the love which was placed in this earth. And the monk Gregory, well commended and adored by his fellows for his goodness, spoke. Welcome, far wanderer, to the final peak before the unending sea, a place of peace beyond war or strife, where pain does die and love walks over the lilies in sunlight and starlight. We are blessed in your coming. Your very presence is a sweetness. Long has it been since I saw you in that dark wood, the dead in your arms and madness hiding behind your eyes. How low you stood then! Yet now before me stands a proud man of virtue true, who has seen darkness and refused it, battled it and won. Hallowed in the light are you who walks beside the dawn flower, starlight beside the full moon. Of her I have heard much in my ministration, the lost light of the Aeolish, whom many have thought taken from this world when fire descended upon the hill of Hala on that dark night. Rumor and myth are made of you, Ilulean Finnewen, lost daughter of the High Telach and last of the Wee Saul. The Aeolish speak of you in hushed whisper as rain-bringer and tree-maker. Their joy is proclaimed in your name, golden hair of the golden hall. If you have come for us to teach you the art of rule, then you will be disappointed, for we are poor men from distant lands, not born to the life of kings. How are we to teach that which we do not know? If you would ask us to aid in what way we can, then you will know all the wisdom which our given reason has shown us. We are but small men, unaccustomed to aiding earthly power, yet we were taught to ever aid those who ask for it. Both of you stand apart from those who do dwell on the Green Isle, beyond mere remembrance of golden hours when the king ruled from the Hall of Heroes. In the pair of you lies the power to forge again what lies in dreams into the waking world. I have walked many days through your fields, and though I cannot count myself fully familiar with your customs, as you are with ours, or claim to have met the many peoples who call this land home, I can see that the two who stand before me can. Just as you are given the power to take dreams long dead and fold them into tomorrow, it is ours that can forge together two souls into union, a most sacred duty which we take more delight in than any other office required of us. For it is where we can celebrate the lingering power of the creation that is love, nowhere else so readily seen. We shall wed together Aethelwald the Hawk and Ilulean the Golden. Nothing shall ever bring us more joy. This night is not well suited for a wedding, for you have travelled far and are unrested. No man can enter married life when covered by dirt, for the body does reflect the state of his soul. No woman can enter her marriage weary, before her lies great labors. Together you both shall rest in our homes, and tomorrow prepare through the day, until at sunset next we shall wed you as you desire. Come, rest. Lose what sorrows have followed you as your souls are set to their task. The joyful monks took Aethelwald and Ilulean into their homes. There was laid out for them clothes of purest white, as sweet-smelling flowers of the field gave strong perfume, their clothes taken and cleaned. When the night settled over the sky, Aethelwald and Ilulean joined the good monks, who made comforting fire and brought out their only mead to share. Long did they rest, as the moon climbed through the kingdom of the heavens, until all monks but the temperate Gregory had had the portion of 3 Aeolish warriors, feasting and singing such liturgy as they knew with wild voices that broke from and returned to the harmony. When mead-soaked tongues fell into silence, Gregory, wise for his own people and the Aeolish also, asked of Aethelwald the tale of the warrior whose death had so hurt a captain such as he. Aethelwald gave it, telling the story with the sparrow's tongue, and though little he knew of Kelloch's youth, of the man he knew much, proud warrior, guardian, and friend only to those of virtue. Kelloch had stood before all the host of Ioland and swore 3 sacred oaths, which are kept even in the days of darkness and vengeance. Youth born after the Aeolish wedding were bound to it, though they had no part in swearing it. Such was the power of so many men with joyful hearts. Yet even though the oaths which men swear are sacred, upheld by the great power of the good God, wretches deceive themselves into thinking they are no more than words, made with fools, and break them foolishly. A warrior of virtue is left no recourse but to punish them who denied fate her say in mortal affairs, leaving behind his home, family, and comfort to battle foolish darkness. He did battle, and often. Through his labors alone was the memory of Malach preserved in the minds of the Aeolish, his reign remembered as when they stood closest to eternal peace. Not only of Malach did Aethelwald speak, but also of the sparrow who sang to the barrows, of the otter which held the ford, of the great king who ruled over every heart in Ioland and his ruin in that black night, of Kelloch's flight, in his arms the golden light of dawn, of her vanishing, of the Baith raising mounds over the fallen, of her life in that strange land, of thieves and hunters, of hawks and hawks' sons, of wars poorly begun and lost in bitter hours, of mountains cold and distant, of death, of friendship, of searching, of learning, of disguise and discovery, of love. All his life and all of Ilulean's was told to the monks of the good God, who sat in awe of the tales. And when ending came to the story, as faintest rumor of dawn came into the sky, the good monk Gregory stood and kissed the ring of Malach and the hem of Ilulean's dress, vowing to ever serve them, only after the command of the good God. Then he bade them rest, for as soon as the young sun prepared to stand in her high seat, they would begin long preparation to wed at nightfall. Aethelwald to his bed and Ilulean to hers, dreaming of the joy which waited for them at twilight. Aethelwald they woke first after short hours of rest, deeming it proper that he wake Ilulean, not them. When she rose, they broke their fast with what bread the monks had, who themselves ate but meagerly. When all was eaten, the couple was separated. The monk Gregory led Ilulean down the stone steps which led to the soft shore. At the shore, the low tide revealed a rock pool, shaped by wind and wave, brimming with water, and showing it to her, the monk spoke. Ilulean, here is our sole luxury, available to us only as the tide pulls away from our shores. A salt pool in which we are cleansed, for those who hunger after truth must be clean as they seek it, else their discovery will hold naught but the dirt which they carry. And love is the truth of creation. Certain I am that you will find what you strive for, but long was your journey through Ioland, facing trials which no other has before battled, and from it a weariness has attached itself to you. Bathe in the sea, and the salt will remove from you any impurity which the water will carry away. We monks bathe here before contemplating the nature of divine will, and when cleansed of our mortal failings, come ever closer to understanding. When you are finished, return up the stone stairs to us, that this day might continue. Gregory turned and left her, climbing the stone stair and vanishing from view as he went to instruct Aethelwald on his duties. Yet as Ilulean stepped into the pool and began to bathe, she knew she was not alone, for she felt eyes upon her. Turning to face shore, she saw that she was indeed being watched, as 15 of the Baith had stepped forth from the still-growing mountain, tall and robed in living shadow, their red eyes shining, Ilulean's great mother leading them. As they approached, they broke apart and stood in a wide crescent around her, 7 to her left and 7 to her right, as her great mother stood in the center. Ilulean waited for them to speak, for she had fled them when she eloped with Aethelwald, and knew not if they had come to punish her. At length her great mother spoke. Child, fear not our faces, nor our fidelity. You are family. Love, light, liberator of languishing lands, we longed for your return, and remain. Yet you were to rise as the mountains which made your master, not meek, but arguing with the air until it abandoned its flight, with green grasses to graciously bow for the great king. What could whisper to the water as it wrecked but the power placed upon the isle to preserve peace, once graced the Aeolish by influence of that iridescent Telach, who told of tranquil times without terror. No chiding, child, can change the chase after your destiny, delivered by dour blood of days dead. So you sit supreme on the seat set aside for you, rightful ruler of both men and Baith. By first bellowing breath, this was fate fixed upon you. Your future always fell here, and so Baith. built from the isle, do bow before she who rules men and magic, and saw the mounds, proclaiming her power from our own. We praise you, daughter, gaze not in fear, for the good God is great here, making our magic meager by his might. We will watch with wondrous joy today, for though he has penalized our presence, there lies no power which will take us from you. Then the great Baith stepped into the salt pool where she bathed, and by what meagre power they were permitted before the good God on the jagged rock tooth, bathed her until her weariness left, and that which remained was naught but radiance. They clothed her in white wool, which they spun from the earth, and braided into her hair the flower for which she was named. They plucked pearls from the sea and set them on flowers of green, and these they rested upon her heart. Then the Baith stepped away from her, bowing before the high Telloch as they slowly faded into the earth once more, but she felt them still. When she returned to the monastery, Aethelwald sat among the monks in discussion, and it seemed to Aethelwald that a second sun, not inferior to the first, rose over the earth, her golden hair radiant in the wind as the grass was brought to shine. From each of her footfalls grew wild meadows of flowers, brilliant as the sun, calm as the moon, tall as snow-capped peaks, light as summer breezes, graceful as full fields of grains, steady as fresh streams of spring. Dawn and dusk, spring and summer she was. Beneath her trance Aethelwald sat still, speechless, as he had been when he first saw her in the golden twilight of the other world, forgetting all which he had learned from the good monks that day, and those monks gazed in wonder that a child of man should shine so brightly, as though a piece of first creation was misplaced and walked the world in such a fallen age. She reached them, smiling, and it seemed to them that all the world shared its joy with them. And when she sat still, they were silent, until at last the monk Gregory noticed her power over them. Rising from his seat, he asked the monks to begin her education, and led Aethelwald down the stone stair to the pool by the sea. There he spoke. Aethelwald, here is our sole luxury, available to us only as the tide pulls from our shores, a salt pool in which we are cleansed. For those who hunger after truth must be clean as they seek it, else their discovery will hold naught but the dirt which they carry, and love is the truth of creation. Certain I am that you will find what you strive for, but long was your journey through Ioland, facing trials which no other has before battled, and from it a weariness has attached itself to you. Bathe in the sea, and the salt will remove from you any impurity which the water will carry away. We monks bathe here before contemplating the nature of divine will, and when cleansed of our mortal failings, come ever closer to understanding. I brought your betrothed here first, for it is not proper for a warrior to bathe before them they guard. From where she gathered such garments as those she wears I know not, for that is beyond the means of poor monks. You were to come here once we had ended our teaching, and at your return we would have begun your wedding. But she came, a light to make the sun jealous, and I saw in your eyes a joy which brought forgetfulness, which forced from your mind that which we had discussed, as she came to occupy yourself. Not only in your eyes, but also in the eyes of my fellows, and for but a moment in mine as well. Thus I find it best that we continue here, far from her splendor, that you be prepared for those tasks which lie ahead. Bathe in the pool, and tell me your thought on all which we have discussed thus far. Aethelwald did undress, leaving only the Arel Siloin Isla Okoro upon his breast, and began cleaning himself in the pool as he spoke. It is true that her coming was as seeing the seas turn red, or the moon rising in place of the sun. Such splendor was hers which I, who have travelled beside her for many months, was held captive, rooted to the earth. True you speak when you say that I forgot that which you had been teaching me, as all my soul was filled with her coming, and all else forgotten. Please do not think it a mark against your speech or the teaching which you offer, but rather my own love for her. Of what you spoke I remember as a distant memory, as the faces of the men who sat at my father's mead hall when I was young. Easily do I accept that which you teach. I accept my new duties as husband and shall labor to guard my wife from harm, though I have seen her give battle and know none can come against her hoping for victory. More powerful is she than 10,000 warbands. Should the gift of children be given to us, who have been given many great and wondrous gifts, I know it is for me to raise them in proper adoration of his works. Worry not that in Ioland you and yours shall have no proper place. I do promise that when Ilulean stands in her proper place, you shall freely walk these lands to uplift the people. They shall need your kindness. If I have cause to doubt your teaching, it is in the need for it. For as you say, no man can be counted among the good God's own, but they who give him his rightful place. Yet why did he give revelation to so few when all the world has cause for hearing his case? Why condemn so many to the fiend for want of the word which moves slowly across this earth? I have known many good men who lived and died on the green isle before the faintest whisper of him reached their ears. Surely he could not be so vain as to need good men to proclaim him and condemn men to fire and ash for being born beyond the reach of his arm. You are wise, Gregory, from beyond the sea, and kind. Tell me why he could properly banish the men who taught me from all-encompassing love. Gregory was delighted by the fire which raged in the mind of his student, for indeed it was the same fire which lived in him when he studied from white beards in cities beyond the seas. The inquisitiveness which had so rankled they who sent him to the quiet isle to meditate on the divine, and now faced by that fire he gave reply with great mirth. No dullard are you, Aethelwald, sired by a bird and taught to sing by another. What is set in you will not be extinguished, certainly not by me. Indeed it is that fire with which you have forged your doubts. Keep those wits about you as you walk beside Ilulean. She can have no better companion than he whose mind is sharper than his blade. It is true that many are condemned for turning away from the word of the good God, but do not think that this is given in special revelation to a select people on distant shores, where food is strange and the sky is not quite so cloudy as your home. The story of his walk through the garden of creation belonged to but a select few, who by their writings did spread it over this earth to illuminate the disparate horde of man, and while their knowledge of the divine contains his true teachings, it is not found here alone. His word is love and peace, without which he would not have created, and love belongs not to any one people but to all. Even here, in the green isle of mist and rain, you were born into a world which knew it, and gave it freely to you. The men who raised you knew it, the good King Malach knew it, and Ilulean knows it. The truth is known by all, yet followed by so few. Man believes he lives in a world always at war, when in truth he belongs to an earth built only for peace. Your King Malach knew it, and gave peace to the Iolish people. So do not think your people as ignorant of the good God's word. All men know the truth but turn away from it, and so are condemned. Those few who do remember that they live only for that love, live, and so they are spared. The book contains the word, it contains the truth, it contains life, but it does not hold these things for its own, for this was built stone by stone in the high church to which you were born. Remember always the love of creation, and fear no fiend. Into the pool Gregory waded, still in his robes, and he placed his hands on Aethelwald, one over his heart and one upon his back. Then in a low voice he sang a prayer to the good God, asking for the intercession of the true power to heal, and he did answer. From Aethelwald's heart that darkness was pulled, that filth and ichor which plagued it was seized from its festering place onto Gregory's hand, pulsating, writhing. The monk gazed at the wretchedness and washed it away into the sea, the heart and the hand clean. Gregory looked to Aethelwald and spoke. I know you have wandered this earth and seen many wondrous things. You have seen the powers which walk it, light and dark at war, but never have you seen the true power, light that dispels any vile darkness, for darkness withers before the radiance. In your travels you have not found a power which could remove your wound. Do not doubt his power, for it is true. He and Aethelwald left the pool and returned up the stone steps, where they found the monks in a panic, for they had given Ilulean education, and she had taken it all faster than they could teach, and the monks had not the books to fill her interest. They came to Gregory in fear, having not the answers to her questions. But he took this in mirth, and offered freely answers which she did seek, as Aethelwald rested in the bed offered to him, the 4 gifts of Ilulean set to the side, and he rested untroubled. Away, over the waves of the sea, among the green of Ioland, Charlie and Ioland the guard were living among her people, gathering to her slowly the wee Agla remnants, and giving them some small part of Malach's peace. About her gathered many families, and a hall was raised for her, where warriors rested and feasted on meager meals and mead, but extolled her virtue. Kind and giving, she ensured that not one born to her people went without food, though it be sparse, even when they were set against her. With the waxing and waning of many moons she stood as the greatest of people, and though many of her people lived beyond the warmth of her light, she commanded the greatest number of warriors, and stood strong against challengers. Ioland led these into battle, and by their number came always to victory. But neither he in victory nor she in rule forgot the face of Aethelwald or his words, how he begged for old enmity to die, and in memory of his mercy they spared those they could, and held not to vengeance. Their labor so entwined that soon they were wed. In their place of strength it did not escape them the stories of strange powers which danced through Ioland, which brought mountains to their knees and stilled raging winds. And though not yet knowing truth, they knew some voice muttered behind the wind, and saw the grasses bend away. It was said in many places that a new light roamed the isle, and old darkness followed after. Those few far walkers who visited other Tella returned with stories of desolation across farms and fields, of strange lights on distant peaks, and a bird which carried all colours on its wings. Such tidings they knew to be the work of Aethelwald and strange Baith magic, and always when feasting they did praise the warrior, leaving empty and honoured the seat at their high table furthest to the Telach's left, should he return. And as the stories gathered, and the shadows did seem to lengthen, and Daona's ships were seen scouting the shores, Charlie vowed to wait no longer, and seek out the hawk's son, taking with her a guard of 10 fine warriors in armour, Ioland at their head. Through all Ioland they searched in vain, for though the marks of the defiler were plain to see, those marks which the light left they had no skill to discern. So they travelled, taking their rest far from the homes of others, trusting not the Eolish to hold guest right sacred in such times of want. But when they came to those villages and homes where the struggling Aeolish did well, they gave generously to lift their condition. Many times were they set upon by bandits, but not one of their number fell to such foes, for they were strong warriors accustomed by hard times to sudden violence. After a month searching through eastern Ioland, they came to stricken Tel Drim. The poisoned howe before it, and muffled sounds of clawing and howling came from it. Shirday and her guards skidded the cursed mound, and went before the gate of Tel Drim, but found it not among the stout walls. And though they shouted and raised clatter with their arms, no voice was heard from inside the walls, as from the howe the digging continued. She sent her men to the river to call out for aid where the walls were thinner, but only the digging madness was heard. Indeed, it came clearer, and the clawing quickened. All the world was filled with this horrid sound. Shirday called back her men and commanded them to stand together, arms raised. Though they were warriors proven by many battles, they quaked at the sound, each imagining that horror from the earth would burst forth. Long they waited, until a darkness began to leak from the soil, pushing its way into the light. The ichor first came forth as the rays of the sun behind clouds, scattered and weak, but soon it flowed freely, and thin tendrils of ichor grasped in the dirt, pulling forward more desolate mud out into the waking world. The foulness soon had a shape, as a head and torso were pulled from the earth. Rasping and sputtering it lay beneath the sun, the grass beside it withering to dust as a sickness spread through the earth from where the beast lay. None knew what they faced, and their courage left them, while a new-found terror kept them rooted in place, weapons held tight but useless in their hands. All they could do was wait for the horror to descend on them, yet it did not. When it had pulled itself from the howe, all its filth rose into its form, that of a man, but made of writhing ichor, and looking past them over the bay, as though searching the horizon. Having found its desire, the form gave itself wings of dripping foulness, and took flight over the waters. Shirday and her warriors stood relieved that the darkness spared them. But as it climbed into the growing night, a realization struck her, and she spoke to her men with urgency. Warriors, that dark horror is a demon from beneath the earth, the kind not seen in our good land for many years. When it pulled forth from the bowels of the earth, my heart left me, and your courage failed. Had the darkness desired our doom, it would have broken us upon its talons. Instead, it flew into open night in pursuit of other prey, and I know what it seeks. Warriors, in our small hall we have heard those rumors which sweep Ioland, how the forces of rot and decay chase a solitary light of peace through hill and dale, forest and field, how that light has but one guardian, a warrior unlike those who walk the earth in this age. That is a demon of decay, and it hunts Aethelwald and his light, seeking to extinguish goodness from our world. Warriors of many wars, you know the limits of your strength. You have seen your foe and know him to be too great to hope for victory. Yet in the beast's path there is a warrior who must give it battle, a master of war, prepared for the storm that comes, for us Aeolish. Would you abandon this warrior of virtue to his death? Lend him what assistance you can. By our aid he will be victorious. I will not order any man to follow, but if you be Aeolish warriors, you will not permit such a warrior as he to face the demon alone. Her retinue did not abandon her, but followed her to the ships which waited in Tel Drim's harbor. Slowly they set sail over the bay to the holy isle Scar Meline. The sun was setting upon a long day of learning. Ilulean had learned all which the good monks had knowledge of the good God, of the stars and their paths, of oceans and their names, of the lands which lay beyond her home, and the manner which people there do live, of history in the lands which had it, of ethics, morals, and philosophy, of the noble art of mathematics, of his walk through the garden. At the instruction of Gregory she learned in an hour the written word, and composed with it poems of her mother and father. With mastery of man's word she read the good God's word before the light of the sun aged from golden yellow to tired orange. In the space of a single afternoon she learned all mankind had to teach her. Such were her gifts. Aethelwald rose from his rest as one reborn, the weight of darkness removed from his heart. His faith in love rested in its place. He left the home set aside for him and went in search of her. She was where he had once sat, listening to the many monks teach him of the world. But here only Gregory sat in the place of the teacher. Before him she sat in grass, radiant in the dusking sun as when it sat in high heaven. And beside her also were the other monks, learning from him. At Aethelwald's approach she broke into a smile which held all the light of heaven, and left her place of learning at a run to be with him. The delighted but weary Gregory told them to walk in the pleasant green field as he and the monks went to prepare for them the wedding place. As they left she spoke to her love. Aethelwald, dearest, there is a world great and wide beyond the shores of Ioland, and it holds in it so much that is foreign to us. Lands of ice where summer is but a month, and darkness consumes it whole in winter. Lands where the sun rules oppressively, reducing all to sand and waste. Forests as large as our home. Cities of stone, which house 1,000 times 1,000 souls. I see it all clearly, as though it was before me, a world made for man to discover, and he has discovered much. The heavens are mapped, the truth of number and shapes is in his possession, the form and size of the earth on which we stand discovered, the proper path of the soul is made plain. Far have we come in our understanding, and as High Telach I must have my people possessing the knowledge which belongs to others, for no dullards are the Aeolish. Much will they add on the quiet green isle. Aethelwald, I will have these men in my kingdom, and dedicate the Aeolish to hold all the wisdom of the world. Tell me, love, have you learned from these good men? Aethelwald replied, looking out over the great blue sea. How marvelous this life is! How endless is the world we were made to discover! How kind it is that in life we are given reason, and do not wander as mindless beasts. You are wise, Telach above Telach, to give these learned men place in your lands, as they promise to take the welfare of your people, and make it their sacred duty. I have my doubts of their teaching, for to me it seemed wrong that the good God would condemn those who lived beyond his word to the fire of the fiend. Yet the good monk Gregory has taught me that no book can hold the word entire, and the truth belongs not to one people, but to all who walk this earth. His word is love, and though I live 10,000 years, I shall never properly give my full gratitude for finding it here beside me. Night prepared to rule the sky as the good monk Gregory came from the church and called them to the high peak of Scarmeline. He guided them up stone steps, the flight of angels, long set into the mountain, and as they walked he spoke to them. The hour draws nigh when you are to be joined together. At the moment of perfect twilight, when the light and dark are in harmonious balance, I shall baptize both of you, and your souls will be guarded by the good God, his forever. There is only one problem which neither I nor my fellows have foreseen. Of the holy water by which you are baptized we have but little, enough only for one. The solution I have struck upon is that Aethelwald shall be baptized in the holy wine, of which we have much, and since the good God has commanded its use, he shall have no cause for complaint. Ilulean is to be welcomed by old methods. Come quickly, the moment draws near. Just below the peak of the sea mountain was a place of level stone, and from the living rock was carved a stone altar, upon it a basin and 2 jugs, one of water and one of wine. There standing were the 9 other monks who had guided their souls that day, wearing comforting smiles, as they were set to perform that sacred duty for which they were placed upon the living world. Gregory took them past the waiting monks and to the altar, Ilulean on his right and Aethelwald to his left, the monks opposite them, and beyond them the mountains sloping to the sea. The endless waves held golden twilight to the edges of the earth. Aethelwald held the jug of holy water up to heaven and poured into the basin what little remained. He then wet his fingers in it and raised his hand before his brow, and he spoke. Ilulean Finoan, daughter of Malach, son of Mathred, son of Math, you have today learned the proper nature of this world, how all is subordinate to love. I ask you now for your willing acknowledgement of it, that I might present you before its Creator, the good God, as one who faithfully adheres to his designs. To this Ilulean gave affirmation, and Gregory made a cross of holy water upon her brow. Ilulean was welcomed into the bosom of the good God. The monks gave a cheer as Gregory poured into the basin the holy wine and turned to Aethelwald. The wine on his fingers, Gregory asked, Aethelwald, son of the hawk, you have today learned the proper nature of this world, how all is subordinate to love. I ask you now for your willing acknowledgement of it, that I might present you before its Creator, the good God, as one who adheres faithfully to his designs. Aethelwald gave affirmation, and Gregory made a cross upon his brow, the holy wine running down his nose and to his mouth. At his baptism, the monks gave second cheer and sang a short prayer of thanksgiving. Gregory waited for its ending before embracing both Ilulean and Aethelwald, welcoming them into the church of the good God. Then he spoke. Brothers, we have welcomed these 2 as the first of the Aeolish to number among those who have discovered the good God's divine kingdom and his righteous rule over this earth. Pleased we should be for our success in the task set by the Church Fathers, to bring the flock of Ioland to him by the gentle hand of shepherds. But we should not give ourselves to arrogance, and remember that we are to serve the land and not rule it. This day is not over, and we are blessed in performing not only the holy act of baptism, but also the most wondrous ceremony of marriage between these 2 living Aeolish saints. Indeed, the sun will rise and the sun will fall for 2,000 years, but this moment be remembered, when the 2 Aeolish first to proclaim themselves to the good God are joined together, and the time is coming for these 2 righteous children to be forged into one. Ilulean and Aethelwald, you have been welcomed into the bosom of the good God, and now it is our most sincere pleasure to wed you, if that be your desire. We were sent to these lands to serve the Aeolish people, and as you are high Telach of this land, we serve your people at your command. Let this act guide all future actions of the faithful in this good land. May they ever remember this moment. May it be hallowed, perfect and pristine until the mountains are washed into the sea. If it be your will to be wed, make it known to me. Ilulean spoke first, the final light of day held in her hair, though the sun had gone beneath the sea and light was fading fast. Wise monk Gregory, it is my absolute desire to be wed to Aethelwald, son of the Hawk, for his soul is the only to which I will be bound. He is the warrior who broke into Baith lands and found me there, forgetful of my proper place. Long we gazed at each other beneath golden leaves, and in this discovery a desire to see him woke in my breast, and I followed after him when he was taken from the forest of endless twilight. I watched over him and the old bear as they returned to their master's hall. So joyous was I when he chose no prize but the memory of me. Never again will a warrior be so great as to break into that jealously guarded kingdom. Never again shall one win such a prize as this love. Good monk Gregory, I shall be wed to this warrior, and I do will this to be the first of many joyous unions among the Aeolish people. Let this be the second proper act of Ilulean Finoan as High Teloch of the Aeolish, wedding a most just man. What vows the good God shall have me make, to see this done I will gladly vow. Only delay no further, and forge our spirits together. Aethelwald then spoke. The final fingers of light clung to the horizon, and many stars had gathered to witness their wedding. Gregory, good man and true, I ask that by the skill given to you by the good God, that you wed Ilulean, true daughter of Ioland, to this humble warrior, who has been most fortunate to follow after her, as she forever secured my home from harm. Forge us together if you can, if that be a skill given to you. But if not, worry not, for no more time shall pass but I shall be wed to Ilulean Finoan. It matters not how this night passes. I understand little of this life, that much I have discovered in many travels. I do not understand the world of the Baith. I do not understand the source of her incredible power. But until this day I had not understood where love comes from. All which I am certain of is that Ilulean is that which completes my soul, that which I have long needed. Good monks, I thank you for the peace which you have provided this day. Life has been war for many long years. In her light it needs be no longer. Wed us, and let the peace of Malach return to the waking world. Gregory took both their hands and laid hers in his, tying loosely with cloth and resting them upon the holy book which brought light to Scarmeline. He gave notice to all the world, to the sun and moon, to the sky and stars, to the wind and waves, to the mountains and valleys, to the grasses and every manner of beast. Ilulean Finoan and Aethelwald son of the Hawk were wed and had become one, that forever and in all time they would be together, perfect in each other. At this pronouncement the final flash of light vanished, and night took her place in the sky. The stars came in their full host. The wedded couple spoke, Ilulean first and Aethelwald after. I have come so many miles, from beneath barrows where the sun has never walked, beyond the golden garden through forests, fens, and fields. I have stood at the highest peak of our land, the head of Eol himself, and fought the wind for its voice. Oh, I have seen wonder since returning to the land of my father, but you, my love, are the greatest of these. Never did I dream of returning to the land of my pain, to face those enemies which I desperately feared. But you came to me, and I left my place of hiding, my love greater than my fear. And there were demons still in this land, the selfsame evil which turned peace into ash from wanton lust. But I have not regretted standing once more in the land of the sun, for it was your home, and now it is mine. By Baith blood I was given great magic, given to my line alone. I will use it to the proper defense of my husband's home. Aethelwald, I thank you for walking my path, though you were not born to it. I thank you for your sword, which kept me safe from a living death. I thank you for finding me in the forest of golden leaves. I thank you for your love, which returned me to my home. I shall build a hall for you to live in, and there the Aeolish shall come to pay homage and tribute. They will be made silent and tremble in awe to gaze upon our home. The tribute they bring shall litter the grounds surrounding. There the Aethelwald and Ilulean, and Plochchara Gwyn Eolethalia, and Mocran Colol, and Aileron Agla'a shall rest before being called to defend the peace we give the Aeolish. Aethelwald, you are my sword, and keeping peace will prove as violent as war. The Daona will return to these shores, of this I am certain, and we shall meet them in bloody battles to keep our peace. There will be little peace for us who give to others. This, then, is our new labor, one which we shall spend our remaining lives in creation toiling for. Such a terrible task is set for the high Telach of Ioland, one I can face only knowing that you are with me. Aethelwald spoke after. A gentle smile played on his lips, as one who desired nothing more, but was fulfilled. Ilulean Finnewen, love of loves, the highest peak of feeling, and dawning light of affection, the long journey was wearying. How many miles we have walked together. Yet if in that journey I was wounded 1,000 times, or cursed by vengeful charlatans and foul spirits, I would still beg the good God to keep me upon Ioland and at your side. We met after a battle where many Daona warriors were slain, though by guile and treachery, and I wandered through the forest as one torn. For I had defended my people, as a warrior must, but in a manner which does not merit praise. I followed the beasts of the forest to sate my hunger, but at chase's end I found that which satisfied it forever. Since that time you and I have been together. Much have I lost, yet more have I gained. For in you I found a future beyond the meanness of the life given to me, one which the otter, sparrow, and kelloch did but dream for. Fear not for me. I am ready for the battle. Since coming here the weariness has washed from my bones, and the darkness which I carried with me was removed. Let the wars come, and all the reavers in their shallow ships. My arms are ready for battle. I will ever battle for this land and you. Wife, never before in this life have I been permitted so much joy. My love and I are joined, and the high Telach of Ioland is prepared to rule. Peace is sure to come swiftly to both my heart and this land. There is but one final act, to deliver to my wife that which was once her father's, and to deliver to the high Telach the signet ring of office, the ring of increasing fortunes, Dane Thardween, of all gifts best given. Please, my wife and ruler, take what was always yours. Aethelwald took the ring from his finger and offered it to his wife, Ilulean Finnewen, who knew the hour long appointed had come. She reached for her birthright, the ring which was hers alone. The monks wept joyfully, celebrating this wedding and the love present in creation. Such was their joy that they noticed not that their number was not 10 but 11. As glinting gold was brought beneath torchlight and lay in Aethelwald's open palm, the hunter came forth from the darkness, dark blade in hand. He had come over the water. Wings of his darkness carried him over the rolling salt which he so feared. He searched the homes of the monks for his quarry, but found it not. Enraged, he climbed up the flight of angels, drawn to sounds of jubilation as moth to a flame. There he discovered his quarry and prepared for the slaughter. But here the last remains of his cunning told him to wait until the ring was present, that he could seize it in his attack. When that which he had pursued for so long was at last revealed, he burst forth from the darkness, and the dark blade drank from the monks. 3 fell in but a moment as he dashed to the altar, his hand outstretched to snatch the ring, but Ilulean acted on instinct. unleashing all her might, shaking the sea mount and leveling that part which stood above them. Down the flight of angels the hunter fell, and many monks also. At the altar remained Ilulean, Gregory, and Aethelwald, who had fallen from the force of her power. Their foe had come to them from the darkness, and though not prepared for battle, they would give it the same. She went down the steps. Her power like sparking embers flew from her as the wind began to circle Scarmeline, until it was a howling gale which struggled against her power to be set free. But though her rage at her foe's sudden attack could wither mountains and choke the seas, she held tight the reins that her magic did not run wild over the mountain. A warrior's blade should not command their arm. Below her, the hunter raised himself up, and looking up the flight of angels, he saw a power in full fury. Fear took the beast for the first time, as the mind, which had for so long reveled in its power to harm others, saw its weakness. Down the mountain he had fallen, to the base of the steps, there raising himself up and waiting for the tempest to break. For though he feared the power which bent all its fury toward him, his lust was greater. The lust and longing he had laid upon himself saw victory at the top of the step, complete satisfaction in a quest which he could not remember beginning. To enrage his foe he set upon the monks about him with all the speed the dark ichor gave him. 6 he slew cruelly and with great zeal, their bodies splayed on the stone steps in but a moment. The sight of his butchering brought Ilulean to the height of rage, and wind took water from the swirling sea high into heaven, coming down as bitter hail which tore at the earth. The hunter writhed beneath it. Yet he was beyond madness, the self-same which possesses all those who abandon their living souls for their lust. His mind both howled from pain in the storm and also saw past it, fixated upon that which he falsely claimed to be his own. And so, as his body was torn by the deadly darts of ice which fell as a blizzard, he held his place. That dark curse burned into his heart brought the many souls which he had rent from their homes to a bubbling blackness which guarded the beast from the storm. The hail struck true, but the armor of death saw the hunter survive when the earth was churned as though by 6,000 horses. The storm died, and the hunter found himself face to face with Ilulean, for she had descended the stair as the storm battered away at him. He abandoned his form, taking to the sky as a darkness, but she was a howling wind, tossing him to the earth. The thundering cyclone offered no escape from the island. Men with power chant as they bring it forth, that their will be wrought upon the earth. The Baith sing songs woven of pure magic, which change the earth to match their strange vision, and those men who know the songs must sing them also. But Ilulean was silent as the sky and earth bowed before her power, her magic, her blood, and made the earth as she desired it. Aethelwald found himself in a world of rage. Stone from the mountain top covered the clearing, though the altar remained untouched. He took the good monk Gregory and saw to his wounds before he left to aid his wife in battle. Of the ring which he had held outstretched he cared little, for it was nothing compared to her. Down the steps he ran, watching as hail and storm battered the hunter, how the darkness took to the skies only to be brought down by obedient wind. Past her Aethelwald ran, to the houses where the monks lived, and there he took but the bone-hilted sword, leaving behind all else that he might reach the battle sooner. Of strong iron was the bone-hilted blade made, well forged and fitted to its handle. Many men died on its blade, but the magic of Ilulean did not run along it, as it did in the Aethelwald Ila Okoro, the Plochchara Gwyn Aelethalia, the Mokrin Kolol, and the Aelren Agla A, each a weapon of great power. Aethelwald went into battle unarmored, the faithful iron of the bone-hilted sword in his hand. About the island the cyclone swirled, and the night sky was hidden by its fury. Ilulean stood at the base of the stair. Her rage came off her as bright embers caught by the wind. The darkness had returned to its form, unable to pass her to search the top of the mount. And though that which stood between him and his only desire was greater than mountains and deeper than seas, he would not flee, not when so close to that boon he had no right to claim. No man was he, but a pit whose depths no man had before discovered. The darkness which he carried in that spot burned upon his heart was powerful, made so in a moment of anguish, and could call those souls which were kept from the kingdom of the good God to be tortured and tormented and labor in chains for he who had ended their lives. How those souls longed for ending, to return to the sea from where all things have their beginning. So many languished in its bondage that no damage dealt by magic or blade was fatal, as the tortured souls labored blindly to hold their vessel together. And so this darkness threw itself against the light heedlessly, for it had been many years of searching and violence. Many times many wounds were suffered. Many times mortal wounds smote him, but the darkness would not let him pass beyond. Thus the hunter forgot that death waits for all that is mortal, fearing the magic of Ilulean only so far as it refused him his goal. Against Aethelwald he darted with his dark blade. Against Ilulean the darkness was set free and came as hardened night, sharp as any blade, to slay her. The dark blade of the hunter Aethelwald blocked, with the ancient skill of Aeolish warriors, as Ilulean commanded the earth to rise in her defense, a shield impenetrable. Aethelwald dealt many wounds to the darkness, but it bled only ichor. Ilulean called the wind, the earth, the water to batter the darkness, but it writhed and slipped away. No matter how the hunter came against Ilulean and Aethelwald, he could not move them from the steps, for the magic of Ilulean was stronger than his darkness, and the dark blade, which before had slain so many, could land no true strike upon Aethelwald unarmored. So he changed his strikes, and brought darkness upon the warrior and the sword against the high Telach, seeking by multitude of dark strands of piercing sharpness to slay Aethelwald before turning his might entire against Ilulean. The sudden daggers of darkness descending upon Aethelwald beat him back, though none left a wound as the bone-hilted sword darted back and forth, blocking the strikes. Ilulean never permitted him close enough to deal a blow with his blade, raising earthen walls to stop him as further hail fell upon him alone. Sprouting off the hunter as the legs of a spider, dark tendrils seemed to envelop Aethelwald, as ever backwards Ilulean went, avoiding the blade of the hunter. A wide grin of black ooze broke over his face as he saw his victory, driving his foe upon the steps, at the top of which lay his victory. Yet where the beast was darkness, she was light, and at the sight of Aethelwald alone beneath dark blades as she fell back, sundered from him, she in herself found a strength she had never known, which, when forged with her rage, brought her such strength that could plunge Ioland into the sea or raise it to heaven. She called the tempest, and the tempest came. She called the earth, and the earth rose. She called the water, and the heavens split open. She called the grasses, and the grasses grew. Her magic fed the storm, and the embers which flew from her were taken by the wind into the bosom of the storm, where it became lightning, breaking over the sky and scouring the earth. The moon full and stars were hidden behind the great storm Ilulean called. Twice bolts hit the hunter, throwing him down the stairs as though he were but grass before a howling wind, and acrid smoke rising with each strike. Strong was he, or made strong by those who the curse held in its grasp. But lightning has a fury unmatched by any found on the earth save for she who calls it. Twice struck by flaming fury, The curse was forced to work harder than ever before to repairing its vessel, the dark tendrils withdrawing from Aethelwald just as he began to weary from sustained assault. The hunter was forced from the stair, and Ilulean descended to the meadow below. The endless power of nature was held firmly in her grasp. Aethelwald, though tired, began to circle the darkness slowly as Ilulean had the grasses crawl and tangle and twist themselves over the hunter. But the pit was deep and lost to a madness unassailable. The hunter prepared within himself all the darkness which ruled him, bursting forth in a wave of choking ichor. Against Ilulean he charged, for she stood between him and his prize, and together they twirled and danced over the meadow. Sparking magic flew between them as he called the long-dead souls of charlatans to work their cursed power over the land once more, and she brought the deepest power of the Baith against him. And where the dawning flower stood, grass evergreen upsprung, but where the defiler stood, the earth withered and grew bare. Where the magic of the hunter struck the earth, all life choked and died, but where hers lighted, life grew quicker than beneath the vernal sun. In this battle Aethelwald held back, knowing full well the limit of a single sword, though a cunning warrior wields it. He was not involved in the twisting battle, and so could look about freely for some advantage to gain victory. Casting his gaze about the isle, he saw what the others had not, the good monk Gregory, standing atop the flight of angels, his left hand clutching at his head, and his right held fast something unseen. Scarmeline shook as the vile darkness of the hunter struck the stones of the sea mount. Weakened by his wounds, Gregory slipped, and from his hand came loose the ring of Dame Thardwine. Tumbling, it fell down the flight of angels, and landed unseen in the grass below. Aethelwald rushed past Ilulean and began to search the place where the ring landed. Naught was found in the grass until a finger of lightning broke over the sky, its light captured for but a moment by the heart sigil of the ring. Aethelwald seized it, his thoughts bent only on delivering to her that which would make her might grow 100-fold. He ran from the stairs to where Ilulean was giving battle, her fierce magic flying from her still as all the world howled and thrashed, the ring held tight in his hand. So focused was he on returning the ring to her that he saw not the flying darkness. 3 spears of perfect night had been launched from the hunter. The first struck his chest and through his lung, the second in his stomach, the third hovered in the air waiting, and when Aethelwald fell to the earth it pierced his limp hand. The glinting gold of the ring upon it was stained in blood. Into the waiting hand of the hunter came the ring as Ilulean screamed in terror, a sound which was heard over all Ioland, that made all men and beast tremble to hear. And forever after those that lived to hear it remarked it to be the saddest they had ever felt, no matter their hardship. The storm which circled Scarmeline grew to cover Ioland entire. Its rain was harsh and bitter. Ilulean screamed and the hunter laughed, admiring the ring in perfect joy, finally victorious. Ilulean let fly all her strength, all the magic she had been taught, all the power of her blood, all her anguish, magic which had never been seen in the waking world, and all of it struck the hunter, who was standing still, reveling in final victory. At a moment he began to twist and warp as the curse which laid upon his heart struggled to save its host, but in vain. Dark smoke flew from him as steam from a pot, only to be swallowed in the cyclone. Her magic overwhelmed every part before the ichor could heal. Through the slush of twisted souls the magic traveled the veins to reach the heart, where the black spot laid there in grief gave desperate final defense, throwing the long-chained souls against the radiance before succumbing. The curse died there, and the hunter with it. The black smoke which flew from him became an explosion of steam, relieved souls rising beyond the cyclone and into heaven for their judgment. The hunter's feet dug into the earth, and his toes grew longer and longer, splitting and burrowing across the soil. His legs fused together, growing thicker and taller. His arms grew longer and split many times, and his fingers also. His nails became leaves. His head grew narrow, and hair grew into branches. Leaves grew at the end of them. The ichor-covered skin hardened into a thrawn black bark. Over Scarmeline the tree towered, over 200 rella tall, its leaves of brightest red. The Fellerin Coldara, dark wood tree, towers over Scarmeline, and can be seen from Ioland on all but the most stormy days. Though in years past many did come to Scarmeline to pray at the chapel and climb the flight of angels, those who rest in the shade of the dark wood tree are said to be cursed to a violent death, and the few brave who have placed their ears upon its bark claim to hear in it a heartbeat. Ilulean fell to the grass exhausted as the storm vanished, and the hunter writhed and clawed at his skin during his transformation. Slowly she crawled to her beloved, holding him close as his last ragged breaths rattled. The monk Gregory descended from the flight of angels, weeping at a night of loss, praying over Aethelwald. Held tight by Ilulean, Aethelwald smiled at the sight of her, the weeping dawning flower crowned by starlight, and he struggled to give words of comfort to her, blood running from his lips. A final ragged breath was drawn before something vanished from behind his eyes. Ilulean collapsed, weeping on his still chest. Thus died the good and brave son. End. Book 10. The Ring of Dame Tharduin was written and performed by Michael Frutig. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting the project on Patreon. Supporters get text files of each chapter, as well as access to Q&A posts, other writing projects, such as flash fiction and chapters of other works. Go to patreon.com/michaelfrutig for more. patreon.com/MICHAELFRUTIG. Thank you.